first hangout of the day. That is that sort of, whoa!
If we find a new tool in the middle of the space, you start using it.
No, but you can save it for next year. You can save it for next year. Hey, we're live. We're recording now. And Max hasn't joined the things, but Patrick is on over there. Great. We've got the live band user here. Ashley and Kath, correct. So Ashley, forget about the cameras. Do whatever you think is comfortable for you.
Yep, I'll stand and prattle for a bit.
Okay. And I keep that one here in the background. We've got those two things here. You've got your presentation there that you should start launching. And let me just open that one for later. Yep. And I can put it post. Yeah. So ignore that one. That will be for later. And is this here?
Yes, should be in action.
Oh, yes. And that's the PDF or PowerPoint? PowerPoint. So yeah, like that here. And we start there. Okay, brilliant. Ruby, and we can switch that one off. Ooh la la, lots of cameras. Alright, so Marsha, I'll leave you chairing the session, but I will pop when it's Kath and Dina to give them time and to help them to move their slides. Yes, I will be here. Okay. So let me take my cognac vodka with me.
Just stand over a bit, otherwise I'll be
Okay, I'd like to introduce you to our first presenter today, to Ashlyn Lee, who'll be talking to us about negotiating surveillance risks in everyday life. So,
thank you very much, Marsha. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Lauren, for the opportunity to speak today. So I'd like to start off the discussion on mobile technologies by speaking a little bit about surveillance and the role of mobile technologies in people's experience of surveillance in an everyday context. So I'm going to assume that people are aware of the sort of contemporary context of surveillance and that we're living in an era of unprecedented data collection, government, corporate, private surveillance practices. So I'm going to assume people are aware of Edward Snowden's disclosures, WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, etc. Now, this presentation, the ideas here represent sort of an evolution in my work because I started off looking exclusively at mobile technologies. And I went out and I interviewed 22 affluent users of mobile technology, being for people with household incomes of 100,000 Australian dollars or more, because there's a relationship between broadness of experience and the kinds of things people do with technology. I had a chat to 22 users and it became very clear that thinking just about mobile devices as specific artifacts wasn't enough. So I broadened this out to talk more about a scope of data. That's why the phrase informatic pops up. So in thinking about that, one of the things that came up very clearly in talking to people was the idea of risk, of digital informatic risk, risks to do with information. Now, I'm a sociologist, a social scientist, and in that perspective, risks are a very central part of how we understand modern reality. So Beck and Beck-Gershon, Deborah Lupton in Australia have all highlighted that risk is a part of everyday life. It's a thing we negotiate and we go through on an everyday basis. And my participants did talk about this, and they framed this up, these digital risks, firstly around a narrative of control. So if we take a specific example of digital risk, such as surveillance, people talk about wanting to have control. If I have control, or I feel that I have control over my personal data, over my practice, etc., then it's fine. This is not a risk. But the closer I come to losing control, the tension,
control and not having, that's where we
have a risk.
So I'm going to use some quotes my participants to illustrate this point. So I won't read out every line. I'll let you again with that. I will highlight the significant points. So this is a quote from one of my participants, Roger, 35, academic. He talks about in terms of surveillance.
different. So he talks about it as a process of giving up himself to others, and how through his everyday practice, he does on a daily basis, forced to surrender control from loyalty cards to his browsing practice, all through his phone. Amazon, iTunes, he's constantly giving up aspects of himself, of his personal information. Now, in the sociological research on surveillance and the surveillance studies field, this response is often referred to as nothing to fear, nothing to hide, because what Roger does there is that he doesn't worry too much about it. He acknowledges it, and he largely acquiesces to the risk. The logic of nothing to fear, nothing to hide basically says, I don't mind people collecting my data or surveilling me because there's nothing in my data that I feel is problematic, and therefore it's not a risk. And we see this logic consistently crop up when we talk to people. This is a quote from Victoria, a teacher, 50, 55, has family but they're not living at home, and she frames up her surveillance and technology experiences in recognizing surveillance. So she draws on that cultural idea of Big Brother to frame her experience. But note that she doesn't worry about that. She knows what information is available on her Facebook account, and she's comfortable disclosing that. There's nothing there for her to fear. So she's quite happy to give that up. In the academic literature, the idea of nothing to fear, nothing to hide has been heavily critiqued. One of the main problems with this idea is that it implies the existence of a person and a subject around technology who is disengaged, is apathetic, doesn't really care, doesn't really want to know about surveillance. They're happy to acquiesce. US lawyer Solov, he talks about in a legal and social context that one of the core ideas about this narrative is an idea of value. That to say one has nothing to fear or nothing to hide means one does not actually value one's privacy or devalues the notion of privacy, devalues the potential for surveillance, and devalues the need for control. So at the heart of nothing to fear, nothing to hide, there is a question of value. And I think that's a really interesting point. And in my research, there is indeed a lot of discussion about value. So in a way, it supports Solov's assumption, but it also challenges the notion that nothing to fear, nothing to hide means ignorant subjects and automatic acquiescence. This idea of control is there, and we see this play out in forms of negotiation and evaluation that really highlight that a person is actually engaged to surveillance and engaged to doing a practice around data. So here are two quotes from participants. Mandy is a teaching assistant, 30-35, partner, no family. John, an irrigation engineer, 50-55, family who doesn't live at home. Now in Mandy's case, again, she starts off with the line, I don't really worry. I'm not concerned too much. I'm not going to change my practice with technology. But then she talks about the specific rationale there, and she frames it up about access to money. I'm not that rich. I don't have a lot to take. What I do have, I am in control of. So she puts a value on material, monetary, and economic circumstances in setting up how she understands surveillance. John, on the other hand, has a different play on the notion of value. He raises a question of moral value. So for him, surveillance and the risks that come from that are only a problem if a person has sort of a conflicted ethical or moral standpoint. And one of the things that came up when we were talking, he was sort of just saying to me, you need to sort your ethics out in life. That's the only problem. That's going to be the only risk for you with surveillance. So he's setting up his beliefs, whether they are right or wrong, with this notion of moral value. So this sets up the idea that we're not dealing with apathetic, ignorant, or disengaged people. And that's what I really want to hopefully portray in this presentation. So I really want to go beyond the notion of thinking about nothing to fear, nothing to hide here, and I hope what I presented emphasises that point. We can't assume that if we're living in a society that is full of surveillance, that everyone is going to be ignorant and disengaged. Indeed, the opposite is true. And we see that on an everyday level, from people just getting on with their lives, people are doing negotiations, evaluations, and really considering what they're doing with surveillance and with technology. I think this is really important because as we continue on seeing the rise of mobile technology and the rise of the sensor and digital devices that Craig mentioned, these issues are going to be even more at the forefront of everyday life and everyday practice. We can't begin to adequately manage or deal with the possible risks or even benefits of something like surveillance without stepping away from the idea that a user is ignorant and is just going to acquiesce. On a practical point, I often think about app permissions. So you get that list of things in your phone that you're meant to be aware of when you surrender your data, when you use this app. And it's framed as a choice. There's no choice there. You either do it or you don't. You accept these permissions or you don't. It's very much a binary. It doesn't take into the need that people want for negotiations, evaluations, and, thank you. Need for negotiations, evaluations, actually work with this. So if we want to look at some of the risks and issues that come with surveillance, maybe we should actually give people the chance to engage with that. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, Margaret.
Yeah, thank you, Ashland. Fascinating presentations. Questions, discussion points. I'd like to start with a question. Yep.
It sounds like a lot of your participants are either partially engaged or accepting the compromises of what the everyday life living means within this kind of environment. Is there any one of your participants that are quite proactive in trying to find alternatives or different kinds of platforms, different ways of doing things that get around some of these challenges?
Never to get around things. Participants will talk about playing with technology, so making fun or messing about, but nothing is ever framed up in a serious sense that I need to change my digital practices. This is a big issue for me. Even I had one user who went on this expletive-filled rant about Telstra, the NSA, and everyone who collects his data. And he even says, you know, I bought a phone that was brain dead because he didn't want these kinds of functionality. At the end of the day, he's still using and he knows he's still revealing aspects of himself. So never in a serious practice sense.
Just a question.
Yeah, sure. We wanted to, when we started off, the sample was very broad. We wanted to pin this down more on sort of sociological importance. One of the things that came out in the literature was a relationship between affluence and broader ranges of behaviour with technology. So the higher income groups didn't have as many barriers to getting latest generation technology, because one of the things I framed up when I started was not just talking about mobile devices, but also tablets and anything that matched the idea I was playing with at the time, which was this convergent mobile devices thing I was working with. So that was, there was a need for people with those experiences, so that was the qualitative work. And in terms of the actual number of $100,000, I looked at the number of statistics used by the ABS in calculating wealth and affluence on some of their larger scale studies, and also studies done in the US from Pew Internet Research Center, where they set their threshold at about 100,000 as well. So that was the upper limit, and I thought, well, that might be a good thing to take.
I was interested in one of the surveillance is a negative thing, benefits. And it's just more of a comment that lots of people are using Uber now and saying, oh, it's so much safer for women to use Uber because you're being just tracked on an app so people know where you are in the cab and anything that's wrong, your journey will be addressed. I don't know, did anything like that come up for you when people go with the benefits of surveillance?
One couple talked about how they used the GPS tracking app and travelled to make sure they didn't get lost. But when I asked them, well, how did that work for you? How did they use that? They were very vague on it.
So there's certainly a hint of that there. And when I made the comment, I was also thinking about some of the sensor stuff. So, for example, ambient atmospheric data collection. Or in the London subways, they run a piece of software called Chromatica, which detects when people are trying to kill themselves by jumping in front of trains. So things like that can be helpful.
I might have a naive, stupid question. So it's 7 billion people on the planet. It's about 1 billion websites existing at the moment. It's about 1 million blog posts a day. And it's about 300 hours of YouTube video being uploaded per minute. It's a lot of data, it's a lot of quantity. So what I'm saying, because of all that mass of information and data and binary numbers, do you think we are slightly exaggerating the notion of surveillance and control? Because if you want to you can get all the data.
What I certainly understand the point, especially sort of thinking about things like big data. You know, more data has been created in the last 3 to 4 years than in the entire sum of human history up to this point. What I would say to that is there are a number of techniques that are being used by sensors to that. So we refer to non-humans in a way to get this. So from the point with software studies that Craig mentioned this morning is referring to algorithms, for example. So if I have how many hours of YouTube footage?
300 hours per minute.
Okay. A human being would never be able to understand that, but you can plug that into an algorithm or plug that into a big data system, and maybe that won't even make sense of all of it, but it will make sense enough to give you an actionable piece of intelligence. So the US uses pieces of metadata that are tiny to kill people with drone strikes. So, and they are able to extrapolate that out from enormous data sets. I'm not saying that every single iota of information is going to be used, because it isn't. Even they say it's max 10% of what they want. But we're living in the context where systems are being designed to take that. So in the context of like a political economy of information as well, that's being foregrounded in the actual design of the system. Facebook does not provide social networking because it likes people having friends. It likes making money.
Maybe just a thought on that. I mean, people connecting the dots, there's different kinds of practices connecting the dots in different ways. Look at the NSA. I mean, part of what they're doing is just hoovering up anything so that they can connect dots later if they want to. So it's not about making connections in real time. It's like there's massive databases, and if they're interested in someone for a reason, they can go trace that. The other aspect is there's commercial practices actually doing quite different things. I mean, there are organisations in the States that offer highly specialised services, and they claim to be able to have, I think it's like 1,000 1,000 pieces of data on each person in the States. They're connecting the dots across a whole series of commercial enterprises, credit cards, anything that you are using, consuming, they connect these dots and then sell that service on to other people to make value out of it. So there's different kinds of practices and different kinds of things. So the data balance is central to the way in which the digital economy works. That's very, very different from NSA kind of inspired anti-terrorist kind of surveillance practices, which are doing a whole variety of other things.
But what's scary about that is also crossover, because we know with the NSA that the PRISM program had its power because Google, Yahoo, and all the providers literally rolled and had their streams running directly into the NSA. So if they wanted a Facebook post, they could get that intelligence on a request without any issues. And that's down to the point as well of the network hardware. So the NSA is being caught literally wiring their networks directly into network nodes in a city.
Yeah. So, yeah, I sort of like your last point in your conclusion there is that, you know, you can't really adequately plan or manage risk without stepping beyond the idea that users are ignorant. Can you just sum up with, you know, talking about that sort of idea that users are ignorant?
Yes.
a bit more?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, unpack that a little bit more.
absolutely. So in surveillance studies, the history of ideas, you get 1984, a lot of Foucault's work on the panopticon, discipline, and punish, and each one of these instances we emphasise that surveillance is a top-down process and that it's an instrument of power, oppression, and the individual that might be created, even though for Foucault there's that project of subject creation, at the end of the day, it isn't about that person, it's about disciplining the body, disciplining the mind. So you get this idea where we create people who are just subjects of surveillance. Things like CCTV, data surveillance techniques also create that idea. But when you actually go and speak to people, so the work of Kirsty Ball looking at call center, people under corporate surveillance and practices they have against that. Some of Steve Mann's work on like video surveillance from the user perspective. In each of these instances, people are engaging with this idea of watching or data collection in a way from their own perspective that isn't top-down, but is also bottom-up and nuanced and situated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
That makes beautiful sense. Thank you.
No problem.
I will thank Hangouts.
Wow, if it works.
Just smiling. Dina and Kat will be presenting mobile phone technology.
Where is,
My
yes.
glasses here.
So I would pretend to be Dina here, physically in the room.
As a tool for HIV prevention with younger and inequality. So
Brilliant! We can see you with the image. Oh my God, it works! But you need to unmute your microphone.
Yes. Can you hear me?
And we can't hear you. Why can't we hear you?
Lawrence, can you hear us?
Let me just try it again.
do we need to turn the volume up?
Just checking right here. Volume up. Ah, yes. Let's try again.
Can you hear us, Lawrence?
Wow, yes! Yes! Whoa! This is the joy of Mina. You can't get those experiences anywhere else. Welcome to Mina.
Excited. Excited and nervous in the same time.
Brilliant. And I'd like to say hello to Max as well. He's online. You can see his still image face. Okay, Dina. So let me just put your PowerPoint not full screen. We would like to see you as well. So probably we will do that way. I'm not one of those big experts of PowerPoint. So like that. And a little bit of your face here. Voila.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Lawrence, can you close my notes on the bottom of the presentation, of the slide?
Oh, yes. Yes. How do you do that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Hey, Kath, can you jump in and say hello? We want to see your face as well. Oh, and we can see Max. Hello. Kia ora. You can't get that anywhere else in the world. And you've got Max. Max, do you want to just to wave to say hello? So Max, join us as well as a witness. Yes. All right, so over to you. So yes, Dina and Kath are based in Auckland. Max is in Wellington. It's a very international conference. And when you're ready. And don't forget to tell me next slide. Okay. So right now we've got the front slide.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to my presentation today. My name is Dinar Lubis, and I'm a PhD student in School of Public Health and Psychosocial at AUT. And together with me, my supervisor, Kat Con. She's in the back. And today I'm going to talk about mobile technology as a tool for HIV prevention
with young gay men in Bali. This presentation is part of my PhD thesis. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I will begin my presentation by explaining the background to my research. The study was in Indonesia. Indonesia is a country with 250 million people, and according to UNAIDS, Indonesia is the fastest growing HIV epidemic in Asia Pacific region. The number of HIV cases in Bali is more than 6,000 people in 2012. This number is the fifth highest in Indonesia, but in terms of the case rate, the prevalence of HIV in Bali is the third highest in Indonesia after Papua and Jakarta. The prevalence of HIV among MSM in Bali is 20% in 2012, and studies shows that men who have sex with men are becoming infected at young age. That's why we focus our study on young MSM, and also there is a need to promote condom use amongst young gay men as one initiative to prevent HIV. Next slide, please. Okay. So now, why internet? In recent years, Balinese gay men enthusiastic consumption of online social media has reshaped gay space on this island. They engage with a range of social media platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, Pet, Romeo, Grindr, and Hornet, and also other social media platforms. The use of these platforms are also broad-ranging, including for works, self-existence, engage with their gay peers, and also meeting with the new friends. Some studies suggest that it's replaced the function of the field hotspots such as park and bar. Interestingly though, HIV-related information is not present in these new gay spaces. Although many HIV-based organizations use social media platforms to distribute HIV information, indeed, young gay men rarely use social media to seek HIV-related information, and this reflects young MSM or young gay men marginal position in HIV-related prevention program and public health research in Indonesia. My research aims to address this marginal position by exploring the potential of young gay men users of social media for empowered, self-devised HIV intervention. By doing so, it departs from existing public health approaches, which rarely employ methodologies with the potential to afford youth a voice in policy and research formulation. Next slide, please. My PhD working title is Creating Space for Young Gay Men in Bali to Develop Ideas on Internet-Based HIV Prevention. This is a qualitative research on young MSM uses of online social media and explore the potential to use these spaces to improve HIV prevention program in Bali. I decided to use participatory research methodology to find out what their suggestions for the prevention are. I asked them to come up with ideas for internet-based HIV prevention intervention that could easily be accessed by smartphone. Next slide, please. This slide shows some of the drawing that they make, and when we discuss the potential use of internet for HIV prevention, it's including using internet for outreach, particularly for gay men who are still disclose their identity, using internet for giving attention to their other peers, and also including established network with other NGO-based HIV. Next slide, please. This image, this slide is an example of their first idea. So their ideas are include website, social media platform, media advertising such as pop-up marketing advertising, video advertising in YouTube, and also including the social cam. Social cam is like a platform such as YouTube, but mostly for the general people. One thing that their focus is they said that the most important thing is they need to use the attractive image or photograph to attract the young gay men. Next slide, please. These two images is talking about the stories. It reflect the stories of the young gay men. This is the slide. This is the storyboard from the group one. The first in the left side is the focus is to raise the awareness of the young MSM, young gay men about HIV, and invitation and calling to care about themselves. They acknowledge that everyone could get infected by HIV, and the disease is very close to them. It's around them. Therefore, they need to call to be aware about themselves. The ideas in the second image in the right side was about focus about the meaning of the real love. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Next, this is the production came to making the short videos using their smartphone. So these pictures was taken by using their smartphone and iPad, and then we use a video maker program in my laptop to edit the video. And I will discuss further in the next slide. Next slide, please. And this is also another not this one, the other before, the other one. Okay then. Okay. So I will talking about I will describe some consideration during the production of the video. We had a discussion whether how to draw, how to decide the appropriate image to show in the video, which you can see in the next slide in the video. We had a discussion whether drawing the kenti or kenti is a penis word in Balinese is too vulgar or taboo. There is a discussion among them. Should we use the funny character for kenti, such as we can use crown, eyes, smiley face, or something clown, something like that. And there is a situation that some people said yes, we can use them, so our target group will accept, and the other one said no, because our message might misunderstood by our target group. Another discussion is about how to show that this is gay special. This is their target group is gay, and which is suggested to use like a voice, so they will use their voice to identify that this is for their target group. Next slide, please.
Is it the one with the URL?
Oh yes, the video. We finally produced 2 videos on promoting condom use among young MSM. This is not a fancy video though, but we did create 2 videos on using their own mobile. The aim of the first video is using condom in order to protect someone that they love, their partner, and the second aim is to call you to change perception about condom. I will play the video. Lawrence, should I play the video?
Yes. You need to share your screen, huh? Do you know how to do that?
Oh, no. Should I open in here?
On your computer, or because it looks like it's a local file.
Huh?
Copy from laptop.
Should I? How do I use that? Okay, like this. Is it clear?
It's a little bit complicated. We try to find a way to show people during lunchtime the video. Okay, sorry. Can we skip that one because you need to share your screen?
Okay. Yeah. It's okay then. So basically, that brings us to the end of my presentation. And I'm now in the final analysis of my data. But what arises from this work is that the ideas and ways of communicating between young gay men are highly stigmatized and taboo for the community. And yet, it is honestly and authenticity of those ideas which make them really valuable for prevention messages. I think finally, I like to end my presentation by thanking you all for your attention and interest in my presentation. Thank you.
Well done. Is it your first Hangout presentation?
Yes, I am.
Yes, well done. High five. Welcome to the club. Any question? And I can, or either you come here and you talk. Do you want to come? Come along. Yeah. Come down. Use your legs. Yes. Okay, I will try to show you, but come down as well. We try to show you the room, crowd.
Wow.
Yeah, come down. Come with us. It's not scary.
Hello. Thank you for your fantastic presentation. I just started a PhD in participatory methods, so it'd be great to learn more about. I suppose when you were engaging with those young men with planning the ideas, what kind of processes you used, and I suppose how how engaged were they, and what do you think that to follow through their relationship with the videos that were produced?
What is it?
So how did you?
So I'll ask it. So maybe you
So
had
it's
some
not clear.
planning. Yeah. So when you had some planning about with the young men about how they would engage with other men. You had some diagrams and drawings. Could you explain more about how you engaged those men and what how you did that?
Yes. Okay. So basically, it's asking about how do I engage, how do I work with the participant or the co-researchers or the young gay men. So basically, there were 8 young gay men I work with, and we have every weekly meeting with them. So we start with the discussing about their situation, about HIV prevention, about their history, the story about their HIV prevention. So and then we'll start with the talking about their ideas. And then we also have some icebreakers too. So because as an I myself is the mature woman, has a social demographic gap with this young gay men, and I'm a heterosexual, they're homo, so many. So I try to make our meeting as informal as possible. Like we created some icebreaker, and we also have some every meeting we have like informal meeting. So we after the focus group discussion we have like a lunch dinner together with them. So to make our relationship it's more informal. So it's make me more engaged with this young gay men. And also I'm not really I don't know them before my study, although I'm familiar with the organization. So it's also helped me because I at least know some of their friends. So this helped me so much. So when we develop the videos, I'm not really very strict with. So we design this video in two meetings, something like that. So it's really depend on them. Only two people can create the videos, and so that's I think the most important for me in this process is how to engage with them, how to be more flexible, not flexible, flexible flexible, and they know me and I know them. So like a relationship, to build my relationship is the most important thing I think in this process of creating the video with them. I think this. Do you have another question?
We'll take one more question. Any more questions for dinner? No questions? Okay, well, thank you very much for sort of coming on to Hangouts and participating. It'd be lovely to have you here, but it's fantastic to meet you. Okay, let's thank Dinah again.
Thank you. Thanks
Okay.
a lot for
Thank
inviting
you.
me to this presentation too.
Thank you very much. You did very well. So I will hang out now. Okay. Bye.
Hey,
Bye bye.
by the way, Lawrence,
Yep.
cat note. Please cat note that you have to show them the video. The
Yes,
video.
yes, I will send
How
you
do you
everything.
do that?
I will explain you when I'm back in New Zealand. We need to move on.
I have two videos actually. Oh, it's okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Let us go now. Bye bye. Okay, and